Can you imagine being able to cook a rack of beef short ribs in a barbecue you can literally pick up with one finger? Well, in this video, I'm going to show you how to do just that. Now, all you need to do to get this barbecue ready to cook on is to open up these legs. And you want to lift it up by the side handles. Your legs will go under. And then to lock your legs in place, you've just got this little clip here. It goes over just like that. And now your legs can't come apart. And if you've got a standard Weber kettle at home, they make for the perfect Weber Go Anywhere stand. So before we get stuck into our barbecue setup, we're going to trim and season these beef ribs. We've got a beautiful 3-rib rack of Cape Grim beef ribs we've picked up from our butcher at Austral Meat. So let's get stuck into trimming these up. So we're going to flip our beef ribs over, and you can either take that bottom membrane off, or what we're going to do today is just take the membrane out in between the bones. You want to rotate it around. Do the same on the opposite side of the bone. And then you just want to scoop the membrane out like so. And that's going to expose that beautiful meat, and we're going to get some nice smoke penetration in between the bones. Now we can flip them back over, and then we just want to take this top layer of silver skin and fat off. And now we have a nice, beautiful, trimmed rack of beef ribs. All right, so if you've got a favorite beef rub, then feel free to use that, or salt and pepper always does the trick nicely. But today we're going to be using a combination of our garlic goals and some Heavenly Hell, the grilled, the smoked, and the lovely. So now we'll get our beef ribs seasoned up. All right, now our beef ribs are trimmed and seasoned, we can get our barbecue set up. All right, so we can take our lid off and our cooking grate. We can get some briquettes, open them up, fill them up on our charcoal grate. Then we can take out 6 briquettes and get them going in our chimney starter. And you just want to make a hole sort of in the middle here where we'll put our briquettes back in once they're lit up. Now you can either get some fire lighters under there, but today we're just going to use our grill gun. And after a minute, our briquettes are ready. So we'll dump them back in with all this unlit stuff. And for this cook, we're going to be using our riser. Then we'll get our lid on and make sure all of our vents are open. All right, so we're just going to give our barbecue 5 minutes to preheat now. So use that time to get some smoking wood ready. We've gone with some cherry from Natural Smoke, but if you've got another favorite smoking wood, feel free to use that. And for everything we're using in the video, including the smoking wood, the Weber Go Anywhere accessories, I'll put a link down in the video description for you to check out. So there's not much more left for us to do at the moment, so we'll come back once this Weber's ready. All right, so it's been 5 minutes, and you always want to make sure you've got clear or thin blue looking smoke coming out of your vents before you put your meat on. So we'll open up our lid. You can already see the minion method we're using is working really nicely because this unlit bunch around our lit pile is starting to catch light. So we'll get a piece of smoking wood straight on where it's burning. We'll get another one just off, and then another one over here. Then I'm going to put in a diffuser plate. This is just to stop the direct heat from getting to our beef ribs. And we've cut down our cooking grate, so I'm going to put our end piece down next, then a drip tray. Then we'll put our main cooking grate down, our beef ribs, and I'll feed a meat probe through the side here. I'll bring that up, put it onto our grill clip, and clip that on about here. And now we can get our lid back on. All right, so it's been about 5 minutes since we put our beef ribs on, and as you can see, our temperature is climbing nicely. So in a minute, once we hit about 225, I'm gonna start shutting our vents down. All right, now as you can see, our vents are fully open. So on this side, I'm gonna leave it open just a crack. And on this opposite side, I'm going to shut them down completely. And with our top vents, I'm going to leave one completely open, and I'm going to completely shut the other one. All right, so that setup's going to hold us around our target temperature, which for this cook is going to be at around the 275 Fahrenheit or 135 Celsius range. Now, as usual, we're going to control our temperatures with our vents. So if we need to increase temperature, we'll open up our vents slightly. If we need to decrease, then we'll shut them down a bit. And if you need to decrease your temperature, you've shut your vents down and your temperatures are still getting away from you, don't be afraid to add some boiling water to that drip tray you've got in there. That's going to really help absorb some heat and stabilize your temperatures. And another thing to be mindful of is your wood chunk size. Now, you would have seen our wood chunks were really small. Because we got our fire started with 6 briquettes, if you were to use a massive wood chunk, you're just going to smother your fire. You're going to really struggle to get your temperatures up, and you're going to see some pretty thick, heavy white smoke. You want to see exactly what we've got here, that thin, blue, clear looking smoke. That means you've got a nice, clean, efficient burning fire. So for the first hour of this cook, we're just going to make sure our temperatures are nice and stable, and we'll check back in soon. All right, so we're about an hour and a half in. Our temperature is holding nicely where we want it to be at. So let's have a look at these beef ribs. Getting some nice drawback on these bones already. The top's starting to look a touch dry, so I might give them a spritz. I'm just going to use a little bit of water. And we'll get our lid back on and let them keep going. So those beef ribs are looking awesome now. All I'm going to do for the next few hours is just check them every hour, spritz them if they need to. I'm just using water, but if you've got apple cider vinegar or beef stock, that'll work nice as well. It's not really going to add any flavor. It's just more to help with moisture retention and bark formation. Now I'm going to keep an eye on our internal temperature in the ribs as well, and I'm going to wrap these up once we hit about that 160 Fahrenheit or 71 degrees Celsius internal. Now I'm going to wrap these up in butcher's paper once we hit that stage. I don't normally wrap beef ribs, but I'm a bit time poor today, so we're going to see if we can speed this cooking process up. So we'll come back once we're ready to wrap these ribs. All right, so we're almost 3.5 hours into this cook. I reckon we're going to be ready to wrap these beef ribs up, so let's have a closer look. Still holding nice around our temperature. Now I thought I could feel the top of the beef ribs pushing on the lid, and now I can see why. So we're at that target internal we want to be at, so let's wrap these up. Give them a nice spritz, then we'll wrap them up nice and tight. Now they're wrapped, I don't think this lid will close properly, so I'm going to drop our cooking grate down. And I can get our beef ribs back in. I'll hook up a meat probe. I'll get it in our ribs and then we'll get the lid back on. All right, so now our beef ribs are wrapped and back in the smoker. We're just going to take them until we're ready to check for probe tenderness. And we're going to start to do that at around the 205 Fahrenheit or 96 degrees Celsius internal mark. I reckon that's going to take another 2 to 3 hours to get there. And when we do, we're going to check for tenderness with our fast read thermometer, or if you've got a skewer, you can do that. We're just going to be probing around, making sure it feels right. If we're not happy with it, we'll wrap them back up and let them go until we are happy with them. So we'll come back now once we reach that 205 Fahrenheit or 96 degrees Celsius internal mark. Right, just over 6 hours in, we've pretty much hit our target internal temperature. So let's have a look and a probe around. Right, they are probing super soft. As you can see, that's just going in and out with no resistance at all. So I'm happy with that, so we'll get them out. And I'm very interested to see how much fuel we've got left after a 6-hour cook. So let's have a look. All right, so that is really impressive. That's only a third of the way burnt through, maybe a little bit less. So that's at least a 9-hour burn time, which is super impressive out of such a small barbecue. So we'll get our lid back on and we'll shut our vents down and we can use any unlit briquettes for our next cook. All right, so like I said before, I'm a bit time poor today, so we're gonna slice these beef ribs straight up. It's always good to rest your meat after you've cooked it, but the beauty about beef ribs is they are very forgiving and you can get away without resting them. Now imagine being on the beach or out camping and you can cook something like this. Tender, juicy, full of flavour. Let's have a taste. Well, it doesn't get much better than that. If you've enjoyed this video, don't forget to subscribe to our channel so you don't miss our next videos. And if you've got any questions, don't hesitate to ask them in the comments below. Thanks for watching and we'll see you next time.